Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Sunday, November 3rd. So I'm back in action again, right? Yeah, so I went to, because it was bothering me quite a bit, so I went to, they call it urgent care up here. And basically what they said is you have a bad case of pneumonia. So tack that on to what I've already got. It sucks getting old, right? Well, let's get back to what you guys want to hear and talk about. And that is different ways to collect money from your customers, you know, that are very appealing as a small business, especially small engine repair. I do this a lot because customers, you have to go where the customers are doing things, right? They're banking, well, hold tight, and I'll kind of go down the rack, see what you come up with. Stay tuned. Alrighty, so welcome back. Yes, my name is Eric, and today is Sunday, November 3rd. Normally on Sundays I don't talk about business, but I think Friday's videos sucked, to say the least. So what are we going to be talking about today? I've had a couple of you guys ask me, what type of inventory software that I use and how to collect payments. So we're going to look at both. And it's up to you to decide what's best for you in your circumstance, of ways to collect money, right? And if you're doing it locally, you can use cash is always king, checks. There's a risk, but if you know your customers, we normally have one bounce check a year, and it's usually a mistake on their end, so it's no big deal, and they just pay us up plus the fee we got charged by the bank. And then you have credit and debit. There's pluses and minuses to them all, except cash. We do a lot of cash, so locally. And then you have the online side of where people like the convenience of being able to pay that bill whenever. And one way that we do it is through PayPal. PayPal, you can set up and send invoices, everything directly to that person, but you got to have their email address, of course, to put it in there to do the charge. And they also have to be part of the PayPal system to pay it, at least the last I knew. You've got tons of gateway processors. Is it Barrel, Stripe? There, you can get wrapped up in a lot of them. But the key to any of them is how much you're getting charged and how much you're actually going backwards by accepting them. And with credit cards and debit cards, there's usually a 3 to 5% transaction fee that you and I have to pay the business owner. So if the bill is $100 and you present it to the customer and you swipe their credit card, now it's costing you $3 to $5. So you've lost that money off the $100, right? And with credit and debit, you're also having probably a monthly fee. And it's going to be based on how many transactions you do a month. If you do a lot of them, a lot of times they'll waive that and they'll drop the percentage down to 1.7 to 2.2. That's where we stay usually in the range. And if you don't use it a lot, the higher the monthly fee is and the amount that they charge to process that unit. Some of the companies I've seen, which I don't totally agree with, and that is they just tack on the 3%. What I mean tack on, they'll say if the guy wants to pay with debit or credit, then you tell him what it's going to cost you if it's, the fee 3 to 5%. Let's say it's 5%, then it's 3% what we see the most. They'll have a thing that says if you're paying by credit card, additional 3% will be added to your bill. And that's so you're paying for it, the customer, and not our business. I try to round it up so that all my customers work. If it's going to cost me $3 to $5, it's going to cost me $3 to $5. For the cash customers, where I don't have to pay any fees on anything, it's a winner. But here's where I see most people having issues and problems when it comes to small business in our industry of small engine repair. Is if you do pick up and drop offs. Now, preferably, you would like to be paid before you take that unit back. So, a lot of our customers will either go with, over the phone, their credit or debit number and expiration and the zip code of where they're at to pay that bill. Others prefer PayPal, where you can send an invoice directly to them, and once it's paid, then take it back. This is going to be a one by one for your customers, and that is, how much do you trust that customer will make payment? And because once they have it back, there's no rush to get you paid, right? They've got it. They're mowing. So you really have to know your customers there and base whether you take that unit back before it's paid for. The other thing that we do here at the shop, and it's totally up to you and your situation, but we also take monthly payments, and we'll split the bill up into like a 3 or 4 month deal. If the bill's $300, $100 a month, and is it more record keeping? Yes. Is it a pain in the ass? Yes. But if it's one way, is you're going to get paid, that person to come up with that $300, maybe 3 months anyways, and you're still sitting on their lawnmower. And this, you're going to have to go by person. Claude always tells me, you're too nice, and you try to make nice for all your customers. Well, that's the name of the game, is convenience. I try to make it convenient for them, because without them, I don't have a business. So, you can be, if you got tons of work coming in and you don't need some of these slow payers, but in our case, I'll take them all on, and I'll work with every one of them. And it's a case by case basis. Now, controlling the inventory when it comes to what's going on if you have a retail establishment. And that is, well, it's either or. If you do like QuickBooks is a good one. They have different levels that you can get into. I think the one-time fee with a lifetime of use is Quickens at $300, $299, or you can get the $29, $39 every year, system. And the limitations are they only have just so many products that you can put into the system for inventory. QuickBooks will let you add up to 4,000 or 5,000, and then you're going to have to go to the next level, right, where you're dealing more of a database. I've had a couple of you guys ask, what do we use at the shop? And when I first started this business, there weren't a lot of really good inventory control systems out there that you weren't paying through the yin-yang to have. And I was already doing programming and databases and all that. So what I did was I created through Excel the inventory, way to control inventory, way to track inventory, the way to show sales, track sales, and profit or loss on each piece, And it's worked well for us. And the way I developed the system was we could have 10,000 items in there. And a lot of times we had 30 to 40,000, I'll be honest with you, in that inventory control system. And the way I would do it is I would just simply go online, because if you deal with Stens, they have a price thing. A lot of your OEMs have it. Rotary, I don't know if they've got it or not. I think they do. But the companies came out with a downloadable PDF file, and you could change that over to different by just changing to what you needed. And what we use it for an Excel file. And that broke it down. So all I had to do was just take and copy and paste the whole thing into my inventory control for what the cost was. And of course you got to be careful, because they have, like any other place, they have tiers, right? And the higher you are on the tier, which is number 1, is going to be your best price, right? To 4 or 5 out through, to where you're just a retail. And that changes from year to year, so you got to be careful with that. You got to be able to update your system. But it's like with any system that you're going to use, garbage in, garbage out. If you're not taking the time to put in the right numbers, the right things in the right columns, you're not going to get a good end result, right? And some of these companies that are right local with you, that already have the system with the gateways and stuff like that, are selling a package deal of a way to control all those. If you have under, I think it's, 8,000-9,000 items. And then there's a monthly fee for using it. And see, that's why I went away from it, is because I didn't want to have to pay anybody anything every month, because the system we had in place was working, right? But the biggest thing I see that ends up with business failures is when they're not getting good, accurate numbers to go by. And they're not taking the time, or they don't have the time to put in the correct numbers in the correct spaces, right? And that's the other thing. If you're running a small engine repair business and you have items for sale, retail, it's better to have everything marked with a price than just sitting on a shelf and waiting for it to come up. And with us, I have a hand scanner, and we could use the hand scanner and scan the item, and it will tell us what the cost is, our cost, and then what it costs to our customer when they come in to buy that product. And it also controls the inventory. It takes it off inventory once it's sold. So I can look at what did I, in the sold column, have that come up first. I can maneuver it around. And that's when I start doing my orders to my distributors, to whether it's the aftermarket or the OEM. I look at what's selling a lot, and then just have a cutoff so it triggers to reorder once it gets to a certain number, all right? So that you're never running out. And it's even more prevalent today, because a lot of the stuff with these back orders and everything, trying to get stuff in. If you know you got a good seller, what I do is in the spring of the year, I make sure that I'm overstocked on it. But you got to be careful, because you can't always go by what last year numbers give you, right? Because it's a different year, and a lot of the machines that you were having parts come in for are no longer in use because they're worn out and people aren't willing to fix them. And then you'll be sitting on new old stock. So there's a trade-off you have to do as a retail business owner of the big thing is a lot of the stuff like with oil filters, air filters, fuel filters, all that is, am I going to see that number of units per year coming through the shop? Will I use it in the shop if I have to? And the answer is always yes. If it doesn't get sold to a customer on a walk-in, that will get put into somebody's lawnmower, or tiller or what have you, sometime within the next year. But when it comes right down to it, it's your unique situation. The younger you are, the better you are as far as taking on new technology. And all I can tell you, old timers, don't be afraid of it. Have one of your grandkids come in and set it up for you. And a lot of times with these companies that are trying to get you to take on credit and debit cards locally, they will come in, they'll set the machine up. But you also want to have the ability to, if a customer gives you a credit card over the phone, be able to manually type it in to that system. And most of them out there are like that, so you don't have to worry about it. But that's one way that I get paid a lot, is if I do a drop-off, a customer usually calls with their credit card because they don't have time to run over and see you because they're busy working and then busy on the weekends. And let me know, what are you using, what works for you, and what would you like to try in the next year? And then lastly, when it comes to billing, for a lot of you guys that are running a shop and you're not doing a lot of retail stuff, it's basically just a repair shop. You're less worried about having a large inventory because a lot of times you're holding just what you need, right? Or just above what you need. And you already know you're going to use X number of oil filters and that stuff. But you can set up a simple Quickens for just billing. And it's how the biggest problem that arises is that it's time consuming in the beginning to get things set up, right? And that means typing in every customer that you have and the prices for certain repairs and the cost for certain repairs. And the way we do it is very simple. You have what the hourly rate is, and we have two different rates. One for lawnmowers, lawn and garden, and then we also do farm tractors. So farm tractors are more expensive, right? But it's just a drop-down menu between one or the other, and you can just pop that in for labor. And the customers, you could actually, if you wanted to set it up brand new January 1st, start by adding customers as you go, one by one, and filling in that database within that system versus trying to keep track of all the customers you've had in the past. Because granted, some customers aren't going to come back. We've lost 5 this past year, just passed away with age and stuff. So they're no longer needed to be on the list, right? But there's 3 of them where their wives have called and said we still want the service and this and that. So I keep them active, but I change the first name from the guy to the wife, right? Easy enough done. But it all comes down to garbage in, garbage out. If you don't keep track and you don't put in the correct information to get the system set up, it will never produce a quality result for you. And again, it takes time to get it set up. And that's what a lot of shop owners that I know don't want to take the time. It's too time consuming. But you can hire someone to come in. If you got a CPA that's doing payroll and stuff, talk to them. A lot of times they're more than willing. They know how to use QuickBooks and Quickens. They get you set up in a hurry. And, customer lists and so forth. So on that note, you guys have a great Sunday. And we'll see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. Pretty sure tomorrow morning. All right.